Hey guys, Dr. Arlen Hill here with you today, and I'm looking forward to sharing this information with you today because we get to talk about how to create an edible landscape, and I'm going to share several options with you of how to go about doing that. Now, you may ask yourself, is it really worth the time? Is it really worth the effort to do an edible landscape? And I have to tell you, I absolutely think it is. There's just several reasons you would want to do this. And in fact, there's so many, I'm going to end up shooting a whole other video just on this topic. But just to give you an idea, the amount of money you're going to save on vegetables, if you don't even really have to get into this real big, if you just start growing a few things around your yard, you'll be surprised at how much money you save. One of the things we were shocked by is I like kale. I like to add it to smoothies in the morning, and we literally, the planter boxes that I built, we literally ended up paying for those planter boxes and saving money, not having to go and buy it, just off the amount of kale that I was able to gather when we were using our planter boxes predominantly. So there's that reason, just knowing where your food comes from. So like I said, there's a lot of reasons. We'll get into those in another video, but this one is all about the options for growing your own edible landscape. So let me show you a couple that we use, because one of the things I didn't want to do was waste area. I wanted to have a lot of opportunity where, not just in my gardens, but I wanted to be able to walk out of my back door and just grab a few things on the fly when I need them and then when they were available. So let me spin the camera around here and I'll show you a couple of options and give you a kind of a tour of a couple of different ones that you can consider here. All right, so option number one for an edible landscape is just going to be a small area, a small little plot. And what you see here, this is going to be an onion plot that we set aside. Onions tend to take a little bit longer to produce, so we wanted to just give them their own little plot to flourish and to grow in. So that's what you're going to see here. But here's what's cool about this is that when you have a little plot like this, you really get to take advantage of the benefits that the bacteria and especially the fungus can have in increasing the nutrients in your food. And you'll notice this plot is probably, I don't know, about 10 feet by 15 feet maybe. Yours doesn't have to be anywhere near that big to be productive. 4x4 plots can produce a lot of food. You get a tomato plant in there, you get some kale growing, some chard, a pepper plant, and you can eat off of that for a while. So number one option on this is just set aside a little plot here. Another option you'll see over here that we like to use, and this is really convenient because the reason these are convenient is because you're going to find trees in your yard. Most people have trees around their yard. A lot of times they're putting mulch around the yard. And when you put that mulch around there, it's just taking up space. So why not absolutely use that space for something productive, for something that's beneficial? And when you implement this, you can see these chard are doing well. These were actually a couple of transplants out of one of our bigger gardens. But notice they're doing great. They actually like to work with the tree. So use that space under your tree. I'm just going to transition over here. We'll walk over this way. And here you can see a whole different type of use of the area around the trees. So what you're seeing here, this is going to be mint that we're looking at here. So with this mint, you know, I like to come out here, use this mint. I like to, again, throw this in my smoothies in the morning. You can just add some flavor to a salad with it. I'll come out here, I'll cut some off, throw some of it to the chickens to eat in the morning. So there's a lot of different ways that you can use the mint here. But the idea on this is that you have an area around the tree is typically wasted area. So hey, listen, why not put it to use? Put some herbs in there. Put some of the like I said, the herbs, your mints, your say like some fennel. If you like fennel as an additive to some of your salad dishes, add that in there. So there's a lot of different things you can add to this. Now let's transition over to another option here. Now, what about bushes? Well, most landscapes, especially in a neighborhood, are going to have some bush as a part of that. And so why not, instead of making that just an aesthetically beautiful bush, why not actually take that and make that a bush that, hey, you know, you can eat this. So I've got a little friend here that's coming to join us. make that a bush that you can actually eat. And in this case, what you're going to see is that this is rosemary, and rosemary has, again, a lot of anti-inflammatory properties. It helps with joint pain. So there's a lot of reasons that you would want to use something like rosemary, and rosemary produces a lot. You can add it as a flavoring agent to dishes. So apart from its health benefits, it has a lot of culinary benefits too. And just as a added kind of point on this, you look at what, just kind of show you how we did this. We've got kind of our steps going into the home here, and notice on the front we've got one on one side, and you'll see there's the rosemary bush on the other side. So you can actually beautify the landscape, and of course this one still needs a little work, but you can beautify the landscape doing this. Now there's also here's another example of the food plot. You know, just it's again a different example in this one. So here I've got rhubarb growing right there, and you can see there's several different kale plants working here as well. So, you know, that's just another option you can use for this. Now, let's transition over to another type of bush that we have, and this is actually going to be a fruit-bearing bush, and this can be another one that you can plant in just as part of your edible landscape. Okay, why not have a fruit-bearing bush? If you're going to plant a bush, I gave you the example of the rosemary one as an option. Well, here's another type of option that you can have. Why not have this is a cherry bush, actually, is what this is, but it's a fruit-bearing bush. So, for example, another option on this would be a blueberry bush. Blueberry bushes are going to have, of course, the fruit, the leaves have a lot of antioxidant potential in them as well. But the point is that you could make this a nice, beautiful addition to your landscape, and it doesn't detract from the look of the landscape. It doesn't detract from the look of the home. It's actually a nice adjunct to help beautify the area and give it some character, and actually a cool appearance that your neighbors aren't going to have. And I'll just kind of scan here and just show you for a minute. You'll see here's another tree that has different mints around it. My wife loves different types of mints. We have all kind of different mints around here. And then you'll see there's another option here. These are going to be an entirely different type of mint. So we've got you've got to take advantage of these trees. Now, what about the tree itself? Well, you know, when you talk about the trees themselves, for example, you got a little fig tree here, you got another little fig tree right here. I remember when we were living in a neighborhood, we would actually walk our dogs around, and one of our neighbors had a tree hanging over the fence, an orange tree, and this orange tree would just drop so many oranges that they would just be falling on the sidewalk. So in addition to what they were getting on their side of the fence. But you can have any number of fruit trees. You can have apples, you can have peaches, oranges. The list is really endless on this, on what you want to choose. But the point being here is that choose a tree, choose 2 or 3, and just start eating the fruit off of that tree. You can have a variety there. I would recommend that more so than anything else. And then last on our list is going to be vines. Now, you can have a trellis vine like this, just have a small trellis. These are obviously larger trellises, but you can have grapevine trellises like this. And the option with these grapevine trellises is that you could just hang a trellis on a back fence. You could put it somewhere out in the backyard. And the nice thing is you can get these grapevines started, and they can start producing in a few years. Generally doesn't take them too long. But what I would tell you with the trees and with the grapevines is that if you're going to be leaving in 3 to 5 years, your efforts are probably better put towards growing vegetables, which can give you yield in literally a couple of weeks. Same thing with herbs. They're going to give you yield extremely fast. Now, what if you don't have a backyard? What if you live in an area that doesn't allow you to have or that you say you're in an apartment, or you just don't have access to an area where you can have a backyard? Well, a planter box is going to be a great option on this. In fact, the planter boxes are actually how we got into growing our own food. With the planter boxes, we were going to the farmer's market, and we still enjoy the farmer's market, but we just decided, hey, look, I want to do some of this on our own. So I just took the time, I built some planter boxes. Really, at this point, it's not a necessity. They're fairly easy to find at home improvement stores, at some of your gardening centers. They'll have planter boxes available. I do recommend the ones that are made out of cedar. But the point being on this is that we put some good healthy soil down in that, and we started growing right away, and we were producing a lot of yield just out of planter boxes. I mean, like I gave you the example starting out about the kale, that all came from a planter box. That wasn't even being grown around a tree or using a tree itself. That was all out of planter boxes. So you can do a lot with just a planter box. So don't feel like you don't have an opportunity to grow your own food if you don't have a reasonable amount of space. Even growing herbs in a windowsill, many people are familiar with that. There's grow towers now. Take advantage of those things. But the point being, guys, is that if you want to eat higher quality, nutritious food, if you don't want to be confused by whether food is organic, it's not organic, what's the difference between that? Does it really make a difference? Do I have to worry about chemicals on my food? Is there nutrition there? You know, forget all of those things and answer all of those questions yourself and have peace of mind just simply knowing where your food is coming from, or at least where a portion of it's coming from. So listen, if you like this information, make sure you like it down below. Share this information with someone. Give them some ideas about how they can produce their own healthy food and help them out. Share with them what you've learned. I appreciate you listening, guys. Look forward to bringing you more videos just like this. I'm Dr. Arland Hill. Take care.